I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm from Jefferson County Pride, which is partners responsible for increasing drug education. And we're here to talk about alcohol today. And I'm going to tell you first an interesting fact about me. All 7 of my friends are named Julie. For real, all 7 of them. And our kids are all friends. Kind of a weird circumstance that all my kids' friends' moms are named Julie. We were all born around the same time, which makes sense. So Julie must have been a popular name, like Kristen's kind of a popular name. Caitlin is kind of a popular name. But here's another thing that we all had in common, or yes, that we didn't have in common. Let's see, how should I put this? That we didn't know. And we didn't know some of the facts about alcohol that I'm going to tell you guys about today, and those of you that are watching online possibly. And here's one of them. Well, let me back up first. I meant to throw this in. Who I am and what I do. I'm a program director for Partnership for Success grant, which is an underage drinking grant. So I know a lot about alcohol. I know more about alcohol than I really want to know about it. I know about it because in Jefferson County we have a really high rate of underage drinkers. Last 30 days, this is data, so I'm going to try not to bore you with data. In the last 30 days, we had about 25.1% of underage youth drinking, which is higher than any place else in the state. So that's like 1 out of 4 underage. And when I say underage, that's 18 and under. That's not 21 and under. If you look at the 18 to 21 gap, it gets a little higher because we know in college, people sometimes tend to drink a little more. Okay, now I'm going to show you some things. Actually, I'm going to go over here. Starting on this side. And you want me to turn this your way? I'm going to look at some brain development because really that's why I'm here, is to talk about what alcohol does to your brain. Because you guys are spending money right now to make your brain better, correct? And why waste your money without knowing these few things? Okay, I'm going to go through some scribbly drawings, okay, so just bear with me. When you are a fetus, okay, that's my lame drawing of a fetus, okay? The very basic things that are going on is the development of this, what's your brain stem. Very basic functions. Your heart is beating, circulatory system, nervous system is starting to grow. That's it. You grow, and then look, here you are, you're a baby. Okay, you're a baby. Now, you know you've got a brain in there, but let's just say I said to you as a baby, here, baby, I would like for you to read this. Could a baby read? No, a baby could not read because that part of their brain is not developed yet. Could I say to a first grader, here, read this? Possible, you're getting there. Could I say to a 10th grader, here, read this? You could. Okay, well, here's one thing that most people your age don't know, and I didn't know when I was your age, is that your brain's not fully developed until you're about 22 or 23. So let's look here. Here's your head. This is like your profile. Remember, I did not get this job because I'm an artist. I just know things about alcohol. That's it. Your brain, right here. Okay. Here's the brain stem. Now, as I said, as a fetus, you know, as you're growing, the brain stem, that's all the way done. It's good. It's going. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are working. The circulatory system's pumping blood. You can do some basic things as an infant, and as you get older, this part of your brain grows and you learn more things. Right now, okay, how old are you guys? 19? Okay, so you don't count. Okay, you count. 19-year-old, your brain right here, this frontal lobe, still has a lot of growing to do, okay? And here's kind of the scary part about this. You're out on your own, but this is learning and making decisions. And for some crazy reason, we set you free at 18. And we go learn and make decisions. When the part of your brain that's still not done growing is right there, okay? Now, here's how alcohol affects your brain. I think it's time for another color. How about orange? When you drink alcohol, alcohol affects this part of your brain, which is where you learn and make decisions. If you continue to drink, as in mass quantities, it starts to affect other parts of your brain, as in the part where you breathe, on the part where your heart beats, and that's why when people drink to, the mass quantities, that they die, because it just suppresses all of those activities. But not a lot of people do that. They usually stop before that point. But here's what's important to keep in mind, is that part where you're making decisions is the very first thing that is affected. So there's kind of what's going on in your head. Okay, so that's how your brain grows. That's how alcohol affects the brain. So now let's look at some information. This is where I go back and forth. Okay. Let's look at a number. 1,825. Ooh, weird glare. There. 1,825. Want to guess what that number is for? Anything in particular? This is what happened last year to college students. And it's related to alcohol, of course. It's very close, very close. That is how many college students died last year from overdrinking, okay? Which is a high number. Okay, next. Woo. Sorry about the glare. 599,000. Guess? You can't guess wrong. That is the number of injuries. So that is how many kids drank, hurt themselves. And when they said, what were you doing when you hurt yourself? They said, oh, I was drinking alcohol. Pretty high number. This is just for a year. Okay. And a bigger number. 696,000. Anyone want to guess here? Even ding, 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 kind of. Partially right. 696,000. These are the people that were assaulted, there was a fight, there was some type of criminal activity that occurred last year among college students. Pretty high number. Okay, and so I have a female audience. Not that all of those things shouldn't be things that we should be concerned with, but especially the 97,000. And of all those numbers, I look at them and I'm like, yeah, kids do stupid stuff. They drink, they do stupid stuff. This number right here, 97,000, is shocking and appalling and breaks my heart. Because 97,000, the number of women who reported being sexually assaulted or raped last year. And alcohol was related. So I'm glad I have girls in the audience. Not that boys don't need to hear this too, but it's because alcohol makes you make decisions that you wouldn't normally make. And all the way down to, yeah, I think I can walk to my car down that dark path through the trees, through a graveyard, through a dark alley, whatever it may be. Go back to over here, what we were talking about, making decisions. Just simply that you're putting yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not your fault, but you may be making decisions that you wouldn't normally do. I am always so careful. I had to run to Target last night, 9:55. My daughter needed something for school. Thank you, Target, for staying open till 10. But even running inside Target, I parked by the door, I ran in, I ran out, look both ways. Stuff that you always have to do. And you have to always make sure you're making good decisions. And making good decisions related to alcohol. Now, let's look at see if that's gonna be a little weird glare too. I'm just gonna read these to you. Okay, this is gonna be true, false. Sorry, you guys on the hot seat here. Okay, women can handle alcohol as well as men. True or false? No, they can't. Our bodies metabolize alcohol differently. The thing now, what we see on TV is you see movies of college life and you see girls who are drinking mass quantities and they're trying to keep up with guys. And when girls do that, it's almost like they're drinking more because the way it goes through your liver and your body handles it is just not the same as a guy. Okay. Number 2, binge drinking on weekends won't affect academics. Are these obvious, true or false? Yeah, false. Here's what we do know. That A students consume an average of 3.6 drinks a week. Failing students consume 10.6 drinks a week. There's a big difference. Alcohol plays a role in 40% of academic problems, and 28% of dropouts say that alcohol was part of the problem. Okay, number 3, and Linda's going to talk more about this in a little bit. Mixed drinks won't get a person drunk as fast as beer. False. Good. Another thing, and this is like a side note. You ever read the side of Tylenol box? Read it sometimes. It says not to take when you are drinking. And it's because the effect that it has on your liver. Just throwing that in there. A lot of people don't catch that. Number 4, men binge drink more than women. I see questioning looks from the back. Men binge drink more than women. Saying yes? Okay, it depends on where you're looking for what research you're looking at, because there is a lot of research right now that is showing that women are passing men when it comes to binge drinking because women are trying to keep up with men. And because of just how women handle it and how much it's considered, like I said, Linda will be talking about it, but what's considered binge drinking for women on a Friday night, we're right there with the guys. There are some things that we shouldn't try and keep up with guys with, and that's one of them. This one should be obvious because I just talked about this. Crime victims on campus are usually under the influence of alcohol. That's true, yes. Yes, the danger of being roofied. Thank you for bringing that up. That's one thing that we encourage. Obviously, you are underage. You're under 21. And we know this for sure. 85% of kids in college right now are drinking. We wish that they weren't, but one of the things that we can say to you, if you are with a friend who is drinking, because you will not, but if you are with a friend who is drinking, make sure either your friend or you keep an eye on your drink. And you're also just kind of responsible for monitoring their drinking. If you see that they get to a certain point, you may want to slow them down. Yeah, here's some of the information on crime victims. 90% of rapes involve drinking. 60% of women say they have got an STD, and that occurred during under the influence. Sorry, can't get that out. And 80% of violence on campus is alcohol related, which is why obviously we are here, because the numbers of crime, rapes, academic problems are very high when alcohol is related to it. Now, one last thing. Often, a lot of people, when I say people, I say kids. Oh, let's just say all people, will drink for social reasons. You know, it's like I'm out with my friends, I'm gonna socialize, I've had a bad week, I'm gonna have a drink. And what you need to keep in mind is that alcohol will increase whatever symptoms or, let's say, feelings that you have. So if you have depressive feelings, they can make your depressive feelings stronger. If you have angry feelings, they can make those angry feelings stronger. Sometimes if you have happy feelings, they make those exaggerated too, but only to a certain point. Only until about drink 2, and then you kind of peek over to the other side. So what's important for you, do you like that I keep pointing you out? My one minor here gets picked on. Is that when you're with your friends, and if you can't discourage them from drinking, which you will do from this point on, is that you monitor them and that you help keep them safe. If they have a problem, I could tell you there's 1,000 places online to check for help, but that you have them look online. There are risk assessments that you can do, like if you have a friend that drinks too much, and just simply Google, alcohol problem. There are assessments that you can totally take the whole entire assessment online, and you don't need to actually talk to a person. And sometimes that's part of the hang-up, is that people don't ever want to go talk to a person. So know that those resources are out there. Now, I tried to get a lot in a short amount of time. Do you have any questions? Because Linda's going to talk about really what is a drink. Like, it's easy for me to say, oh, when you have a drink, or here's a drink, or too many drinks. But what is a drink? And what is a safe drink? And what is an unsafe drink?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. That is part of what I'm going to be mentioning here. One of the things that I want to say is usually when I speak to youth, they are normally high school and middle school kids. So the one thing that we do try to talk to them about is to not start drinking. The longer you put off starting drinking, the better chance you have of not becoming an alcoholic or being an alcohol abuser. But one of the things that I always cringe at when I'm in a room with a law enforcement and he's talking to a group of high school kids is he goes, I know you're going to drink. And I just cringe because that's not what we try to put across to the youth. We want them to not drink, but with you, we know the statistics are that you're, like Julie said, 85% of college students drink, and most of those, at least in the first couple, 3 years, are under age 21, so they're underage drinkers. So, with making that choice to drink when you're underage, you're also looking at DWIs, you're looking at all kind of health risk and everything like Julie talked about. So we're going to address this as we know you're going to drink, and maybe we can give you some advice about things that you can do to help yourself. Stay safe, be careful, and maybe even help a friend like Julie was talking about. Julie mentioned size. We've got all kinds of stuff that we could show you and share with you. Julie actually brought a can of beer. We won't have to say what kind of beer it is. We don't want to promote their products. Drink sizes vary. We have 12-ounce can of beer. That is a serving. That is one drink. Now you have a glass of wine. 5 ounces is what's considered a drink of wine. So if you have, how many, you have, measure out 12 ounces of wine, and I only had one drink, officer, but you didn't. You had 3 to 4. So that is always something that you want to look at. And, you get into your stuff like Long Island tea. There's a half an ounce of 5 different liqueurs and alcohols in there. So you are already having way more than the limit you're supposed to have. They say that one drink per 1 to 2 hours is what you should consume in order for it to get processed through your system. So when you get into binge drinking, you might be out for a couple hours, you have 5 to 6 drinks, you are way over the limit. So it is important that we watch what we do, we look at what we do, we consider what we're drinking, and not think, I mean, there's very few bars that measure their alcohol when they put it into a mixed drink. They're supposed to. But if you ever watch a bartender, you're going to see that they're going to cap it off because they want you to stay, they want you to keep having fun, they want you to not make good decisions and drink too much. So some of the behaviors Julie mentioned in regards to binge drinking is all of the alcohol-impaired accidents, sexual assault, and all that. We're not going to repeat that again. A lot of the ways that you can be safe, Julie mentioned also. You can be the designated driver and live by that. The designated driver might not be you, but you need to watch what they're doing, how many they're drinking. Pay attention to what they're drinking so you realize that they're having more than what they need per hour. A lot of people go into a party saying, I am not going to drink, or I'm only going to have one drink, and there's ways to still feel social by having a glass of water in between. We've been told stories where they don't want to drink anymore, so they take a drink and then they go to the restroom and they pour it out. So there's a lot of ways that you can not put yourself in a position where people are making fun of you or trying to get you to drink another drink. You can think about it ahead of time so that you know how to protect yourself. So you have to pay attention to the drink sizes. You know, you can go from the beer to a glass of wine, different size. Your normal glass of beer out of the fountain is 16 ounces normally. Even though the serving is 12, they're going to fill it to the rim so that you're getting your money's worth. So it's really important that you pay attention to that. So when you talk about your drinks, you know, the can of beer is 12 ounces, 8 to 9 ounces in a 12-ounce glass, 5 ounces of wine. If you're talking hard liquor, 1.5 shots of 80 proof. And then, like I said, you get into your Long Island tea. Rhode Island, yeah. Long Island tea, you're talking 2.5 ounces, so you're way above what you should do. So it's important that you understand what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're looking at. Because when you tell the officer you've only had one beer and you can't walk that straight line, then you've had way more than one serving of beer. The adult body takes about 2 hours to completely break down an alcoholic drink, and I'm sure when they're talking about adult, they're talking 25 or over probably, because that's when your brain is 23 to 25 when it's fully developed. Binge drinking, she talked about that a little, consuming 5 or more standard drinks in a row for males and 5 or more for women. And like I said, again, you have to think about your size. Julie mentioned that it's becoming more common in women, and we think it's true, just talking to people and looking at people. The BAC, blood alcohol content, 0.08. We all know that. 0.10 means that you've got 1/10 of 1% of your blood by volume is alcohol. So if you have one drink, you're 140-pound male, you have a 0.3. It's the same for female. If you have 2 drinks, and that's standard drinks, it's 0.05 for a male and 0.07 for a female. So if you have, as a female, if you have 2 drinks and hit the road right away and get stopped, you're going to be very close to the 0.08. So it's really important that we pay attention to the size of drinks that we have, the type of alcohol it is, because the size is different from all of them. We actually had planned on having all those, and we forgot our cups. So,
Which is just to kind of show you right there, which is why I got that cup. Often when you go, like if you're at a party and you go and get, you know, like if there's a keg, and usually there's some type of cup that gets filled, and often people consider that a beer. But you have to keep in mind that a beer, and this is 16 ounces, so it's a big one. People still think, this is a beer. Guess what? This is more. So when we're looking at one drink, you have to really look at the ounces to it. Just don't go, well, all I had was one drink. You have to think about the size, the actual size of it, and what is in it. This is going to be more than one can of beer. And that's often like at college parties, they're kegs, they're drinking out of cups like this. And so if you said, oh, I had 2, this could end up being 3.5. It's because you don't think about the actual amount that's in the cup.
Well, and when you think about the very popular song right now, Red Solo Cup, most of those are, yeah, I know, most of those are 16 ounces, which is the same size as what she's got. And you see any party on YouTube, on TV, out in public, and they're using Red Solo cups. And so you're already getting 1.5 servings of alcohol. And so it's just very, very important that we think about size when we do that. So that is pretty much what we want you all to think about. We were hoping that we had a few more people here, but the knowledge that you take away, I hope that you will think about. And I didn't even introduce myself. I am Linda Hardgrave. I actually chair Jefferson County Pride. We have been in the county now for almost 6 years. And I also chair Windsor Pride, which is what started all of this back in 1999, just working with our school district, doing what we're doing here, except working with youth. So